Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're listening. Welcome to Two Friends Talking Shit About FPL. Well, it was a week of small margins and a mad finish.
Crazy week. It was a really strange week, and we'll get into it. I took some risks that did not pay off, but then the rest of the game week turned out in a way which, I got away with a bit of risk taking, but it was a weird week.
Yeah, it was definitely one not for the books, I don't think. It's very slow to start with and then a bit crazy to finish.
Extremely crazy to finish. Where do you want to start? Because it was a strange game week. I honestly thought I was going to get a spanking this week because of just how terribly my decisions went.
Let's start at the end, hey? Where all good stories end. So I think we went into this game with you had one player and I had another player, and it was kind of like whoever performed best was gonna win. And I had captain Bruno, and it was an assist or any kind of return from Bruno, and that was in the bag. And then I don't even know how to explain it. It just went down the pan faster than the bathwater. Like
How
three
did
goals
Bruno?
in 8 minutes.
How did Bruno not get anything?
Well, it's Bruno and he's in my team. I think that's all said and done.
Mate, I feel like Bruno Fernandes has been the biggest troll to you this year because he's gotten you 2-2s, and on captaining him, he was not involved at all in 3 goals, and the person that was involved was a wing back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they changed the system a bit with the subs and whether Ahmad changed his positioning, but to have Bruno return nothing in a game like that, like had the whole team produced nothing, I would be less pissy. But to have so their star player return nothing, and say he returned nothing, he got 2 bonus points. So like, in captaincy speakings for the game week, it wasn't the worst, but like it could have been better. But it's just another one of those, those small decisions that I decided to not get rid of Bruno for Gordon this week because of the Southampton game. Gabriel had an assist, then it was removed, and then it got put back on, and then it got removed. Well, so he had a goal, and then it got removed, then it was an assist. So it was a ball that came in, and he flicked it, and then it came off Solanke and went in. But then it was determined that he never actually touched the ball, so then it went straight in off Solanke, so he lost his assist. So small margins everywhere. I think, the Liverpool game, you watch it back and there's goals in there that, I don't know why we didn't score more. So, my Salah and Gakpo picks could have come out better, but small margins, just the wrong end of it this week.
Yeah, fair. Well, look, if it's any consolation, your captain pick, even with no assist, not even involved in the scores, still did better than mine.
Yeah, it's
and I took a -8 to get mine in.
And I think we talked. That's why we talk about the differential captains and when's a good week. Like this week with it so split, I think a lot of people still went Salah. Palmer was a big one. Isak was like a lower. It's like a million captaincy, so like it was worth it to go.
So I'm a bit annoyed at myself for not captaining Isak. I always had it on Isak. I think in our last episode I had it on Isak. It's because he got flagged. And then I'm like, if he's flagged, I don't want to captain him, and he comes on for like a 10-minute cameo, right? So I removed the captain's armband off him.
And it was flagged, and Eddie Howe also said, he's trained for the first time today, we'll see how it goes. That was like the day before, so it's kind of like, maybe not.
Then old mate goes and get a 16-pointer.
Yeah, tell me about it. But
well, let's go into our team. Should we do that? Let's just go into our team then.
All right. Let me show you mine. Where are we? This one. So, as we said, it's not the worst week in the world, but it just could have been so much better. So, starting with Sells in goal, so he got 3, so he was picked up a save point. Gabriel with 1, Munoz 6, Hall 6, Salah with 2. Captain Fernandes got 4, so it's double to 8. Palmer 10 and Bumo 2, who I decided to play last minute, kind of regretting it, but oh well. Gakpo 2, Mateta with 8, and Isak with 16. Fabianski 1, more bunched points with Rogers with 6, Robinson with 7, Kirkes with 1. So,
mate, this is adding to your bench tally. Your your triple digit bench tally.
Another 13 points they're sitting there. And I originally had Robinson in for Mbumo, but yeah, I kind of went with the... I know that you go with the attacking player, and City are a bit at risk of letting in some goals, so I thought there was a bit of a worthwhile in there, and I bought him in, so I thought I might as well play him, and just wasn't the right call. But, you know, that's not too bad. It's a small, like, 100,000 red arrow, so not the massive ones. I just keep going up and down 100,000s at a time at the moment. But, you know, look, the team's still in reasonable shape. Made a change already for next week. But, you know, it's not too bad. I'm out on the Mbumo train a bit early. Yeah, it's probably the Arsenal defence is letting me down at the moment. It's not really getting anything out of him.
So you took... Hang on. You took a neg 4. So what were your transfers?
Yeah, hang on, let me check that again. So I did Jota out for Mbumo, and I did Mateta in for someone else, Jesus, who's injured. And I did Munoz in for Timber, who was also injured. So
good call on Mateta.
Yeah, well, that went all right. I saw they scored, and I looked over, and I'm like, please, and yeah, he'd got it. So yeah, that was worthwhile, and he's still got some good fixtures coming up. So kind of in that tricky spot. There's a couple of forwards I'm looking at, but I'm kind of locked into my strategy for the next few weeks until after Gameweek 24.
Fair. If you want to talk about locked into strategies, I took a neg 8 this week, and I took a big risk. It did not pay off, and yeah, I had 2 players which I was going to go for. No, sorry, really I had 1. I was going to go to... So I changed out Gabriel Jesus as well, and I was going to get not Mbumo, Wissa, who scored. Didn't pick him. I wish I was going to say I'd get Mateta, but I don't think I was going to get a Crystal Palace attacker. But I'll share my screen regardless. I'll show you who I got for a neg 8.
And in reality, in another scenario, I would have, had it been this week, I would have done Bruno to Eze, but I didn't. I wanted to be on Palace for that fixture, and I didn't want to move any of my midfielders, so Mateta was clearly the way to go. He's also the differential as well. He's like less than 10% owned, whereas Eze and a couple of others are moving up a little bit.
Look, Eze, I don't mind. It's just, do you know what it is? It's the PTSD from the start of the season where we just had that. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, is he going to keep trolling us? But anyway, how much is Eze nowadays, by the way? 6.6. It's a lot cheaper than he was. Anyway, here's my... So these were transfers I made. I went Trent Alexander-Arnold out, Munoz in, Timber out, Kanate in, because I still wanted access to Liverpool defence after this week. And old mate Jesus out and Erling Haaland in after his brace against West Ham. I thought, oh, mate, he's got Brentford, Ipswich, Brentford leak. He's going to be fine. Worst case, I keep him for 2 weeks and ship him before the difficult run of fixtures and bring him back in later on. I captained him. You see how that turned out. Man City did score 2 goals. Erling Haaland just did nothing. So interesting. Anyway, here's my score. 84 points. So this is why I say it's an interesting week. My captain was terrible. I literally was... I was tossing up captaining between Isak. No, it went out of the way for Isak because after he got flagged, I was like, I'm not captaining him. So it was either going to be Palmer or, believe it or not, Ahmad. Because you said you were going to captain in Bruno Fernandes. So there was a bit of my mind where I'm like, oh, how cool would it be if I captained my version of the Man United player, which was Ahmad, You know what stopped me? I heard rumours that because of an injury in Man United, Amada was going to play wing back rather than his up front role normally, so I didn't captain him. But look what he did at wing back. Anyway, 84 points, Sells with 3 points. Colwill, I want to ship this guy, man. But anyway, Colwill with 1 point, Robinson with 7, Munoz with 6, Ahmad with 20. He saved my game week. Palmer with 10, Gordon 9, Salah 2, Rogers 6, Haaland 4, Isaac 16. I've got Wood on the bench. So overall, I'll be honest, like, I was doing terribly. I think I was going to be down to like 260k, 270k after the terrible captain choice. Ahmad literally saved my whole game week. So I end up going, I'm up to first place now overall mini league, won the head-to-head, and I got a green arrow. So I feel like this week I just put this down to sheer unadulterated luck. This is just pure sheer luck because that Captain Haaland choice. Oof, yeah. And here's the other thing. I'm locked in now. Do you know why? I've only got 0.2 in the bank. So even if I wanted to make transfers, I can't make any transfers. There's nothing to do. And what's even worse, I don't even have money for a manager now because of Haaland. Right? So what I'm thinking is I still think Haaland will perform. I'm going to hold him for Ipswich. It'd be silly not to. Right? Maybe I hold him for Chelsea before Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool. He's out. So, I don't know. I think that's when I can get money for a manager again. But overall, happy with that. And total team and squad value and money in the bank is 108. So, getting up there. So, I'm getting to the point where if I can get 110, that lets me have Haaland and still 2 mil free, which will be like a really comfortable place to be in. But yeah, that's me. I got a lucky break. That's all it was.
And there's a situation in the future where if Haaland, like everyone else, has kind of looked at his season and gone, that Arsenal game that's where everything's turned around. That's where everything's gone bad. The Arsenal game coming up will be a target for him. He will want to undo that. And you know how he's like, so he could just alight in that fixture and just go nuts for the rest of the season. Like if he can get a return in that one, that will flood his confidence back, and it'll be like, it hasn't happened. So if they get a good result there, I think we could see him back. So it's probably might be a good choice.
Well, here's the thing:
don't get rid of him.
On the price predictions, Haaland may drop. And I know the cutoff is tomorrow. So, I hope he doesn't drop tomorrow so I can ship him right after tomorrow's cutoff. I may hold him for the drop 0.1 drop, only because I can, my team value is quite far ahead. I'm like, okay, I'll cop the 0.1. I'd rather him not drop though. That would really suck. Bring Haaland in, captain him, gets me 4 points, loses 0.1 worth of value.
And it's whether he can hold the value. If he can hold the value, it's probably worthwhile to keep hold of him because he's going to be bought on wildcard. And these people are going to find money for him if he starts to score. So you will take advantage of that jump. And we kind of get the feeling that people go up quicker than they drop. So you might get a few more price rises out of him than he's had drops.
But
we'll
see.
Yeah, it's hard to predict, isn't it? Coming up, we talked about a few fixture switches, and people just not informed. Some people overperforming XG, and it's just quite hard.
Mate, Chris Wood, 9-pointer, still against Liverpool. I mean, is he fixture proof? Do I just play him week in, week out?
I mean, I think the fixtures coming up are the reason I haven't moved back to Wood after moving him out a bit earlier. But I think if I had him, I think he is a bit fixture proof now, but you look at your team and you go, oh, like what are we when we're coming up? Like Forest against City, you go, oh, maybe that's a tough fixture. Maybe I won't play him, but then he goes and scores 2, and your player who you decide to play against Southampton gets 4 points.
Oh mate, yeah, it is rough. It is rough. Anyway, let's. Okay, well, what's your? Shall we do a recap of the week then? Is there anything which stood out for you other than Bruno Fernandes definitely is out?
I'd be interested to watch the highlights. I haven't watched the highlights of the United game because I'm still quite angry about it. But I think going back and watching and seeing if there was a change in position for Ahmad will be interesting to see. Where did that form come from? Because they were not doing well for the first 84 minutes and then managed to bang in 3. So yeah, be quite interesting. But like going through the scores that we've got, like Forest, Liverpool. I think we thought maybe Forest might have Liverpool's number after the first game of the season, and I think they just managed to defend them out. They very quickly picked up the system and sat on it for ages. And I don't know if you saw, but they made a substitution, and Diaz went off, and Robertson went off, and Tsimikas and Jota come on, immediately won a corner. Tsimikas took the corner straight onto Jota's head, and they scored like 22 seconds later. So is that just a Forest haven't adapted to the new players coming on? I let it slip, and then they've got a quick goal. Hard to know. I think at the end, Liverpool did start to pepper the goal, and they really did start to play. So whether it's just a bit of fatigue with a few injured players, and then they get going, I don't know. But I think it kind of says that Forest are a good team to pick, especially at home, and that Liverpool have had a bit of a hard couple of weeks. They've had a couple of draws. They lost in the League Cup, but I don't think it's early enough to rule them out of anything. I think we still have to keep faith with them. And then moving, so just looking at the 4 games that are on the screen there, I think Newcastle are still on a burn, so I think they're still good to have. Chelsea is still hard to gauge. The Bournemouth still doing well enough, but probably maybe not in the super hard fixtures. And with Arsenal are still fine. They're now finding a way to win again. The Spurs on the score sheet fairly early, but yeah, I don't know. The Arsenal's are a bit of a hard one, isn't it? Because they're not keeping clean sheets at the moment, and they've got Saka still. So
Bournemouth also has some injuries as well, from my understanding. So Bournemouth had a few injuries this week, and I don't know when those injuries are going to be back. So that's what, for some people, that's why a Palmer captain made sense. So if Bournemouth play Newcastle at Newcastle's at home, so Bournemouth traditionally actually had a low X goals conceded. They defended quite well earlier in the season. If those injuries are still out, Isaac at home against Bournemouth with injuries could be a good captain choice for next week, seeing how they performed away to Chelsea, who aren't firing as hard as Newcastle at the moment. So that could be a really good potential captaincy choice. And on Arsenal, Arsenal fan here. I've got no Arsenal players in my team. I feel kind of bad. I want an Arsenal player in my team. It's just Saka's out, Jesus is out, Timber's out, Ethan Nwaneri's, I can't say his name, sorry mate, but Nwaneri's out, and he's like a young gun who would have been a good replacement for Saka. This hurts my heart to say this, but I don't think I'm investing in Arsenal anytime soon, and I don't like their chances for the title at the moment. Although if they can grind out a few wins, or if they can at least keep the gap the same that it is against Liverpool up until we get some players back, maybe they might have a chance. But yeah, it's not looking good at the moment.
Yeah, I think I kept Gabriel because he's got a bit of a goal threat still.
He does.
And against some of the weaker teams, I'm still expecting an Arsenal clean sheet. But spoiler, I'm not playing him this week because I just don't feel there's a clean sheet there. Bournemouth are, you said they got lots of injuries, and I think they are a little spread through the team, so makes it quite interesting. Semenyo, if I didn't move on him playing as the out of position forward because I didn't know whether that would make him better or worse, but to see what he does next week. If he gets a goal next week, he might be one to look at because I think Evan Nielsen is a long-term injury. So if he's going to play, more in that out of position forward, and he's going to, return from that position, you're getting the extra points because he's classed as a midfielder. So, but one to look at. And yeah, Chelsea are hard. Like we've had double ups, we've had triple ups on Chelsea, and sometimes they come and sometimes they don't, and it's quite typical. I think Palmer's the one that you go for at least until the European fixtures come out, and maybe he doesn't play in the Premier League as much. Definitely one to keep an eye on because they do seem to be very patchy. They're great for a few weeks and then they're average and then they're good again. So Jackson's still plodding along on his XGs. He's scoring about what he should be, assisting about what he should. It's first return in I think 4 or 5 games. So good if you held him, but you with his drops, you may have moved him on to try and save you money, which I think me and you both did.
For sure.
Let me shuffle the page down. So I think maybe this first one on this page was maybe a little bit of a surprise. I think I probably would have expected to win one way or the other.
Yeah, me too. And I honestly, I really expected Haaland to be involved in the goals, not Foden with a brace.
Yeah. Which is an interesting one to keep an eye on. Like Foden took a while to get into the team this year. Like, has he, taken that to heart and is now going nuts? We'll wait to see probably in the next couple of games before their fixtures turn. But he's a cheaper option than trying to get to the 14.8 or 14.9 or whatever it is that the Haaland costs at the moment.
Yeah, fair. 4.14.8. Maybe it'll be 14.7 soon. Hopefully not.
And then this next one, I was a bit of a surprise as well. I thought, I know we're talking new manager bounce, but for them to win, Robinson with his 2 assists is again still good to see. I think this is most interesting for me for the assistant manager chip that we talked about. Like if West Ham can keep up putting some results together, scoring some goals, they're quite good for that chip. And I think it might be quite a popular option.
I like that strategy a lot. Yeah, and West Ham, they're strange. If you look at the last few results, they seem to be the only word that comes to mind is inconsistent. They're either getting smashed or they're putting a few goals in.
Yeah. And interesting that they're still managing to score some goals without having Bowen playing, who's generally their source of creativity. But I know they got Paqueta in there, and Ings on the score sheet or on the assist sheet. So, be interesting one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I don't know if I would invest in any West Ham assets, to be honest. I just think the goals are too spread out for me to know this is the person I would invest in. But you're right, the new managership with the West Ham, because they're so low on the table, could be the go.
Yeah. Is this one about how to expect Everton's still a bit of Sean Dyche in their setup against Villa that have been sort of misfiring all year?
Yeah, look, Everton not scoring, not surprising. Villa scoring 1, you know what? By now, I'm also not surprised because this year's Villa hasn't been the same as last year's Villa. And also, Everton, defensively, they have been tighter recently, so the score line isn't a surprise. I don't know, Villa's a bit uninspiring at the moment, aren't they? I'm glad Rodgers keeps firing because for his price point, great. But yeah, I looked at bringing Ollie Watkins in instead of Haaland, and I mean, probably should have because he scored, but just not very inspiring at the moment.
I feel that Watkins' ceiling is a fair bit lower than Haaland's. I feel like if Haaland goes off, he could score 3 or 4, whereas Watkins, he may be looking at 1 or 2, especially. But I know that they've had their issues with Duran and stuff, but I still think that Watkins he's maybe a couple of goals. Like I don't think we often see big returns from Watkins, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a big return from a Haaland.
Yeah, fair. Next one, Leicester. This was a good call by you, mate. Mateta in.
Yeah, I'm reasonably happy. I thought this is a game that I wanted to bring in the Palace attacker. Like I think I would have maybe waited if I hadn't got him in for this one, but when Jesus came out with, he might be injured for, a reasonable amount of time. So it's no brainer, isn't it? It's a -4, but I'm going to get 2 points off Mateta if he plays more than 60 minutes. I'm going to get nothing on Jesus, so it's a -2, and then this has turned into a positive. So I think with all my transfers this week, I've come out on top. Well, they've come out better. I've made a few points, but whether they can keep putting this together will be interesting, because the two other players I looked at were Sarr and Eze, who both got assists. I gotta say, I did not look at Guehi, who actually got the second goal. But decent enough return from Palace, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, fair. All right. Who's next?
So I think we got a couple more to go. So the less said about this one, the better. We know, don't we? Ahmad with a great goal. I know one assisted from Ericsson. I'm not sure who got the other one. I quite honestly do not know how Bruno Fernandes comes out of this with 2 bonus points.
Mate, don't complain. He still beat Haaland.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I just... he was in the game, but he wasn't great. He wasn't the best player on the pitch. And to come out, you've got Dibbling in there who's got an assist. It was an Ugarte own goal, so obviously no scorer for Southampton. But, I just don't quite understand how he comes out with 2 bonus. I'm not going to moan that much, because it did mean that he got 8 points instead of 4. But, at 80 minutes, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Like, a lot of people I was talking to were like, how are we losing to Southampton? And then, the madness happened.
New manager pep talk. And look, everyone knows by now, I don't watch games. I don't watch highlights. I'm literally stats. Not even stat. I don't even look at stats. I look at the goals from the previous week. Price and goals from the previous week, and maybe some other content creators online for FPL. But I'm just happy that Ahmad scores. And you know what? Here's the thing for Ahmad. To me, from an investment point of view, always made sense. For the price point, like, people would normally use a $5 million player as an enabler. So for an enabler, you've got someone who has been scoring reasonably consistently, outperforming his price, right? In a team where there's actually not that many options, and he's been playing a lot, so obviously the manager trusts him, and he's been playing up front. It just felt, as part of the starting, front line, it just felt like a no-brainer to just keep holding Ahmad. And I think I said that, a week or two ago, an episode or two ago, where it's like, it made no sense to sell Ahmad. And same with Rodgers, it makes no sense to sell them unless you have the money to upgrade them into someone who's significantly going to be outperforming them. So for me, Rodgers and Ahmad are like 2 enablers, which are like season holds unless they get injured or unless you've got the money to upgrade them.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. I think if you had ideas and options to go elsewhere, you've maybe moved and swapped and changed. But yeah, it's just hard with a team like United, who can, in 10 minutes turn their game around like this, but can put out a good performance and draw against Liverpool, but then can not show up in some games that you expect them to show up in. So it makes it hard to know who to bench and when to bench them. Another spoiler, I've got rid of Bruno this week, because I'm done trying to make that decision about when he plays. When I don't play him, he gets points on my bench. When I play him, he doesn't get anything, and it just takes away from the fun of the game now. So he's gone.
Mate, for your sake, I hope he doesn't just score a brace or a hat trick this week against Brighton, because then you're going to be like, this guy is just the ultimate troll.
And I think even if he does, he's better not in my team, because we don't get on. We don't get on.
Fair. And here we go. Brighton Ipswich. What are your thoughts? Because João Pedro is injured. Yeah,
I'm not sure what to do, where to go with Brighton. Again, they're another one of those teams that they're floating mid top halves. They are doing okay, but their returns again, I can't seem to pin down who they're going to beat and who they're not going to beat. They won this convincingly. They beat City. but then they'll draw against a team lower down. It makes it hard to pick one of their assets and be confident they're going to do something.
Fair. And I remember for a while you were looking at Jorginho as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's inconsistency. I know people say, oh, so and so is a good player, but when you start thinking about the price, right? When you've got I'm going to sound like I'm a bandwagon, not a bandwagon. I'm like, really tooting this guy's horn. But if you look at the likes of Ahmad or a Rodgers, for their price point, literally anyone who's more expensive than them needs to be outperforming them. Otherwise, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And like, if you look at the likes of some Brighton midfielders, where the points are at the moment, it's just so spread out that I just don't think the investment is worth it, even if they have an amazing run of fixtures. You know, sometimes people say, "Oh, invest in fixtures," and they buy someone who's like in a crappy team, which, you know, it's not like the team has been. I don't want to say crappy team, sorry guys, but you know, in a team that's not performing as well, right? And it doesn't look like their form is changing, so they're just consistently inconsistent. Even if the fixtures are good, I think I'd rather a player from a team which is doing better with mid fixtures, because even in those good fixtures, I don't know, you're not going to get consistent returns from a player. I don't know. I could be totally off here.
Yeah, I think the best way to kind of like picture that is you talk earlier in the season when everyone was looking at City and everyone had two City assets, so like a defender and an attacker. They went off the boil and they stayed off the boil, but everyone went, "Oh, we got to keep hold of him. We got to keep hold of him." And there was clearly something wrong in that team. You know, they weren't defending well, they weren't attacking well, they weren't talking to each other. And the people who jumped out of the City players did better than the people who hung on. You know, if you had a Gvardiol, you got the odd goals that kind of kept you afloat. But if you were holding on to a De Bruyne or a Foden or
Haaland,
yeah, you ended up just getting swamped by what's going on with the team. So like that kind of goes to show that you can move off a player if they're consistently not performing, and then move on to someone else. Like if you'd have managed to get you say off Haaland onto Wood at that pinch point, you know you're laughing because you've done so much better off with a player like about half the price.
You know, this year, people, I think we lucked out with the pricing of the forwards, that even if you held Haaland and he wasn't performing, the other forwards which were performing weren't expensive enough that you couldn't get them. Wood was cheap. João Pedro for a while was cheap. Cunha was cheap. So a lot of the cheap forwards were the ones who were performing. So you could still hold onto a Haaland and have two cheap forwards and they actually still scored.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, were able to squeeze Haaland and Salah into the team. It was only when Palmer and Saka started firing a bit more when people were like, well, we have to get rid of Haaland to afford the freemium in the middle.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And because all those like middle ground forwards, like Watkins didn't really hit the ground running. You people like Gakpo were rotated too much and still are rotated a bit too much.
Jackson, Solanke, Havertz, Jesus. Do you know what I mean?
A lot of them have had injuries as well. You know, they've been out of the team for a bit and they come back in. You don't jump on them straight away. You want them to get a bit of momentum. So they've been hard to, solidly go for. And yeah, even though if you're kind of looking at, I know there's a difference in price, but if you're looking at, a Solanke to a Haaland, you go, well, when one of them hits, Solanke might score. Haaland might score 5. So the weighing up who's the better option becomes tricky. And if you have Haaland and you want to go back to him, it probably doesn't make sense to get rid of him to try and get back there without a wild card later.
I think it depends on the question of what will you do with the money. If you've literally got the money left over, I think it's doable. I was in a position this week where I was on the borderline. Trent out, do I think Trent was worth it? Look, I'm glad I got him for a 15-pointer, but I don't know if he's worth his price. Look, if he starts banging in goals, I'm going to eat my words massively, and I totally am open to that. Me having Trent, the majority of the appeal wasn't his goal threat, because he hasn't shown as much of it this season. The majority of the appeal was that was access into Liverpool's defence, and when you look at the cost of Van Dijk, Trent wasn't that much more, right? Yeah. But when you all of a sudden are presented with the Kanate, and you can get access to Liverpool defence for like 2 mil cheaper, of course you're going to take that. So it comes down to, I think, with the likes of Haaland, what will you do with the money? If you're going to have the majority of the money sitting there, and you only need to make a few small downgrades, you might be like, all right, well, I'll splash out on the Haaland, even if he doesn't perform. What was I going to do with the money anyway, right? Because I probably had 3, 4, 5 mil sitting in the bank account in the bank for the team for about 3-4 weeks, quite consistently. So I obviously wasn't spending it. Do you get what I mean? So I think, what are you going to do with the funds makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up Trent, because I think now is the time to move him on, because from a Liverpool fan perspective, I think his head's already on his next contract, and I don't think we've seen the best out of Trent.
Really? Do you reckon? Like, as in, you think he's going to move on?
Yeah, I think he's going to go to Madrid. I think he's
in this window.
No, I think he'll sign, because he's free transfer. So at the end of the season, he can sign for anyone he wants because he's out of contract. So I think he's probably signed with Madrid already, but Liverpool are waiting to pick up a replacement before that's announced. Is what I would say.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
So I would not be surprised if, in the latter stages of this season, if Liverpool are, still safely ahead in the league, or they are, we said we'd already qualified for the next round of the Champions League, or, if they're out of the running for the title, I think we'll see another right back start to get integrated in. So I think you'll see Trent in the team less and less, and you'll see either a purchased player or someone else starting to play a bit more.
Don't you already have a substitute for Trent? And that's like some people say he's a little bit of a rotation risk, isn't it? Is it Robinson who's the substitute who would be subbing Trent?
Bradley.
Or Bradley, sorry, not Robinson, Bradley, yeah.
But we'd still need a backup, and Bradley's still quite young, so I still think they'd need someone a bit more established. If we can. I know, like I said the other week, there's talks of Kirkez and Robinson from Fulham, and a few other places like that being talked about. So, generally there's no smoke without fire, and I think this one is one of those situations where we probably have a bit of fire. I'm from a Liverpool perspective, we're now well into January, and I'm quite concerned that we've got 3 players in Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent all out of contract at the end of the season, who all haven't signed new contracts, and we don't really have replacements for any of them.
Look, if there was a time to lose the 3, at least you have a good chance for the title first. So if you do lose 3, at least you win a title.
Yeah, I think for foundations of the team, you need to keep at least one together. If we can keep Konate fit, I think you can lose Van Dijk because he's mid early 30s now. I think from my perspective, I think it makes sense now to sign Salah to another contract for maybe a couple of years if we can. He's still 30s, but he's still fast. He's still performing. He's still quicker than most of the league. So I think we don't have a replacement for him. I know we've got Chiesa, who we brought in, but he's already been injured once, and he's only been at the club 6 months. So we do need a different option on the right because we don't have one. So I think we need to keep hold of Salah, and I'd like to keep hold of Van Dijk just to club captain and to see him through. But I think there could be some changes, and if we bring in people instead of signing people, that will be interesting for Liverpool assets depending on when do they start getting integrated. Does Slot try to get them some game time this year so that they're ready to go next year, or does he wait till the summer?
When you say bring in, do you mean like from your youth league?
From wherever. So say for example, we've got Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate, Trent across the back. You probably don't want to start next season with 2 brand new people in there. So, Robertson's probably coming to the end, but you don't want to have a Robertson, a new player, Konate, and then a new player, because that disrupts your lineup too much. So in game weeks, 35, 36, 37, do we start seeing, Robertson, Gomez, Konate, Trent? Because that's going to be the back 4 for next year. Like, you could end up seeing, especially if they're safe games, you could end up seeing some rotation purely to get players time playing together, so that when the season next year starts, they are ready to go from the off with there's not a transition period.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, this sounds like it'll be an interesting year, and there could be a little bit of movement then. Or who knows? They all sign again. Who knows?
I
Right?
mean,
But yeah.
you say this about Liverpool, but then you've also got at Man United, you've got Mainu, Rashford, Garnacho, all rumored about maybe moving on. So there's a lot of movement throughout a few teams. A lot of people out of contract. We've seen that list of over 100 people who are out of contract in the summer. It could be a lot. It could be a lot of rotation because of these. But yeah, it's hard to know. But just to be something to be wary of.
Fair. All right. Cool. All right. Shall we look at our lineup, our team for this week?
Hit me.
All right. I have. Okay. So hand on heart, I was not going to make a transfer last week, and then I did 3 because Timber and Jesus both injured.
Yeah.
That's kind of forced my hand, right?
Yeah. And then you
My
go for the
transfers-
opportunities, don't you?
And my transfers didn't pay off also. Like, I was better off not making those transfers and keeping the injured players. But regardless, this week I have made no transfers. Okay?
Again.
Again. Cut off this tomorrow, I probably won't make any transfers. Because, like I was saying before, I've locked myself in. I've got no money. I've got 0.2 in the bank. Do I upgrade Colwill for that? Nah, probably not. I'll just leave it as is. So, got Sells in the goal against Southampton. Colwill at the back. I just don't want to play this guy. Okay, let's look at his points history. 1-1, 0, 4, 6. Yeah, those two were right. 2, 1, 0. They're just not great. But it's Wolves at home. Wolves can score, and Chelsea is inconsistent. And Wolves do have Cunha back, but I think he's the best out of the worst choices on my bench because they've all got harder fixtures. Robinson against Leicester away, Munoz against West Ham United away, Ahmad at Brighton, Palmer, Wolves, Gordon home to Bournemouth, Salah, Brentford away, Wood, Southampton at home, Haaland, Ipswich. I really hope he replicates his hat-trick there, and Isaac, Bournemouth at home. So I've got Rogers, Kanate and Huijsen on the bench. So in terms of who I'm captaining, this is one of those weeks where I'm a bit torn. Isaac at home to Bournemouth. If Bournemouth have those injuries, good bet. And Isaac's form has been on fire. He's doing what Salah did with all those double-digit holes, right? Although Salah at home to Brentford leak goals, and he's still Mo Salah. Look how many double-digit holes he's had. And he could have scored against Forest. He could have assisted against Forest. So it's not like he's out of form. He's just playing a team which were good. So you might just play it safe and captain Salah. Or...
Yeah, Salah's away to Brentford, though.
Yeah, exactly. Salah's away to Brentford against Isaac at home, which, Newcastle, everyone says they're amazing at home. Or Palmer at home to Wolves. Wolves defensively aren't good. I think they've kept 1 clean sheet all season. Right? They leak goals. Or Wood against Southampton. Or Haaland against Ipswich. I'm not putting it on Haaland. I'm sorry, man. I just can't trust you at this stage. But I'm torn. I've got literally four captain choices, and I actually don't know who to pick. So it's gonna lucky dip between these 4, and I don't know who it will be at this stage.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I've toyed that I've made a transfer already.
Bruno Fernandes out. Who win?
Bruno Fernandes out.
Martin.
For Anthony Gordon.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to think about it too much this year. Gordon's still got a good couple of fixtures, and I was holding Bruno for more than just a week until the good fixtures. But there's a few fixtures in there that I'm like, I'd rather have someone else for those fixtures, so I'm just going to move him out, and then I can always choose to go back to him or Ahmad later. or there's a couple of other options that I've got in mind for future weeks. So I am going in with Sales at home to Southampton, Robinson, Munoz, Hall, Gordon, Salah, Palmer, and Bumo, Gakpo, Mateta, and Isak. And then with Areola, Rogers, Gabriel, and Kirkes on the bench. So we're starting to look more and more similar. I think our differences are, we've got a couple of striking differences now, and Bumo and Hall.
Yeah. And Mateta versus Haaland, Wood versus Gakpo. Yeah, there's a few differences there. And here's the thing, I wouldn't put it past Mateta to outscore Haaland.
Had Liverpool's double not been confirmed, I would have moved Gakpo out this week, I think. I just don't think now we're getting Jota back and Slot saying he's ready for 90 minutes, and we've still got Diaz. I think it's fairly confident to say that Darwin's not in the mix for a starting berth, so there's still enough competition there. I know Gakpo can play up front or on the left, but that's Diaz's spots, and that's also Jota's spot. So you could end up with 12 minutes off the bench. So as soon as the double's gone, I think I might move him on to someone else. I don't think I'll probably over-invest for the doubles. I don't think I'm going to bring in any Everton players for that. I don't think I'm probably happy with 2 Liverpool. I don't think there's too much, with the current form. I don't think there's too much to lose with just having 2 and not 3 in the doubles. And I don't know who I would move out to go to a double. Do I move out Mateta if he's doing well? He's got some good fixtures. Do you move Gordon? It's just too much hard work. So Gordon in was the easy one. Newcastle are doing well. I looked at Eze, but I'm kind of more comfortable having a triple Newcastle over a triple Palace. Which is really the reason
triple
why.
Palace seems a bit grim.
It would be triple Palace right down the middle of that park as well.
Oh, look, either you score big or mate, you're blank. There's 3 players who blank for you. Just on your point about Everton players, I don't know about you, but this Liverpool-Everton double game week seems, I use a word, uninspiring again. At most, I might bring in 1 Everton defender. That's probably about it, right? And Liverpool-wise, I would think I'll just keep Salah, Kanate. Maybe you take a punt on the likes of a Luis Diaz or something like that, maybe. I don't know. It's just, I don't think I'd be going hard on that double game week either. And maybe that's the wrong approach. But I personally am not going hard on that double game week, because would you invest in an Everton attacker? No. Would you double up on the defence? Not necessarily either. So, and what do you do?
Look, it is hard, because if I just looking at Liverpool fixtures, so Brentford away this week, then midweek following that they play Lille at home in the Champions League. I know it's a bit of a dead fixture because Liverpool qualified, but they still want to win, so they still want to go out there and win. Then they've got Ipswich at Anfield in Gameweek 23 on the 26th. Then they go to PSV away on the 30th. Then there's the first one of that double is 24 Bournemouth away. It's not easy, but it's not terrible. But then straight after that, on the 7th, they've got Tottenham in the second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Then they've got the 4th round on the 9th at Plymouth in the FA Cup, and then they've got the Everton game on the 13th. So it's not like they've got 7 days off. They're still playing, in. So that's like a week, 2 weeks. They've got 5 games. So there's going to be rotation.
Yeah.
I've been talking that, that's triple captain week for me. That's triple captain. So I'm thinking about not doing it because, I just don't know that Liverpool are going to get good results out of all those games. Everton away, the last one at Goodison, it's not going to be an easy game. And I would expect Everton to show up. And when I captain Liverpool players against teams that I think they're going to win, they don't do anything. So
But just on that though, if you don't triple captain, then when else do you triple captain?
But that is it. If I don't triple captain in that week, I have to rethink my whole chip plan, and it then gets tricky. And I think I'm probably only just for doing it to get it out of the way.
I think the big question is this: do you think Salah will be rotated? If you don't think Salah will be rotated, that still would be the right triple captain call, I think.
Yeah, and look, I think it completely depends on league position when we get to game 2 of that, because I think so. The first one we say is Bournemouth 2 days after they play PSV. So maybe Salah gets rested against PSV if Liverpool have already secured that top berth. I think it's probably a possibility. Because then the next important becomes the league. If you've already qualified, that's not an important game. So you think he's going to play against Bournemouth. He's then going to play 5 days later against Spurs at Anfield. Probably doesn't play against Plymouth in the FA Cup. I think it's probably fair to say he'll get rotated out for that one. So then, he probably will play at Everton. But picking that other Liverpool option for a triple cap for your double game week is hard. So I think it's probably still a safe bet to do triple captain Salah for that week. But I mean, it's not as exciting as it was before.
No, yeah. Look, here's the thing though. I reckon he could still bang. He could still bang as long as with Salah, he's shown that if you look at his track record this season, he's pretty fixture proof. The highest scoring player in the game, right? If he was Haaland last season, you'd be like, yeah, of course you'd triple captain him in a double. So yeah, I reckon you'll do all right. I mean, famous last words. I know we're in friendly competition with each other, but I hope you do all right. Do you know what I mean? Like, I reckon you'll still. All Salah needs to do is bang hard in one game. Even if he blanks the second one, that's still a good triple captain.
You remember a couple of years ago when Liverpool beat Bournemouth 9-0?
No, I don't. Unfortunately.
Do you want to have a guess at how many points Salah got for that game?
What, like 40 or something? 30? What?
2. He was not involved in any of the goals.
How is that possible?
It was the craziest game, and I looked at the score the day after and went, "Ooh, 9-0." Well, Salah's bound to have scored some, and nah, didn't have anything.
What? Who was it? Was it all strikers that scored? Was it defenders? Was it Trent who got like a hat trick or something? Like,
I think
how?
Trent got a goal. Robertson got an assist. I think there was a defender goal. There was a couple for Diaz. It just wasn't a game for Salah.
This happened last season when I was playing FPL. Last season, Liverpool had a game where they won like 5-0 or something. I can't remember who it was. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember having Salah being like, "Oh yeah, all right," and he didn't get on the score sheet.
Because some teams will mark him out of the game because they know he's, and they will start, and that's the game plan. So they, even when you're 6-0 down, the game plan doesn't change too much. So they just kind of kept marking him out of the game, knowing, and then they just bring space in for other players, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. Well, it's been a few weeks since we've had a bit of a guess at some fixtures. So you want to go run through some quick?
Yes. But before that, I just want to check in with you. Are you 100% captaining Salah? Because I can't make up my mind.
Ooh, look, at the moment, I'm not. No, I'm kind of between. For me, it's Salah, Palmer, or Isak. I think I kind of toyed with Gordon, but I'm not sure that he's got as much upside. I might end up going with Gordon just to be a bit different. Once your teams are this similar to each other, doing something slightly different is key. I think I'll probably have a look at what the spread is tomorrow, and then go from there. Because if we've still got a spread, like if you said you've got 4 or 5 people, if everyone has got 4 or 5 people in mind, it might be another week where you could go a Gordon or go an Ahmad, and maybe come out on top.
Oh mate, I'm torn. But anyway, yeah, all right. Let's have a guess about the fixtures then. Bring them up.
Bring them up. Will do.
Yeah, we'll see. I still might make a transfer. Look, I say I'll roll, and every time I said I've rolled, I've gone like -8. So don't be surprised if next time we speak, I'm like, hey man, I've actually gone -16, and I've just totally overhauled my team.
All right.
Okay, so
Starting the week,
Ooh.
Newcastle, Bournemouth.
2-0 Newcastle.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going as well. I don't expect them to wipe the floor with them. So I think 2-0. I think it's a good one.
Actually,
Brentford.
why don't I have a Newcastle defender? That's crazy. I can do Colwill to. I can't do Colwill to Hull, but I can do Colwill to like Dan Burn. Maybe. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Anyway.
Thinking aloud. You heard it here first. Brentford, Liverpool. I'd like to say is a 2-1 Liverpool.
Oh man, I hope it. If I captain Salah, I hope it's like a 3-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, Brentford are better at home, and Liverpool I'm great. So yeah, I think.
Wait. Brentford are better at home,
Yeah,
but their attacking is great. Defensively, they're not great though. Surely they leak a few goals, right?
yeah, that's why I'm saying 2-1. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be. I think it'll be a bit hard for. But I think we come out on top. But who knows? Leicester, Fulham. I would go 2-0 Fulham win.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see a 2-0 Fulham win. I'd probably be pretty similar.
Uh,
West Ham Palace. This will be interesting. What do you reckon?
2-2.
I'll go 2-1 Palace.
Yeah, cool. Arsenal Villa. So this one's tricky for me because I think Arsenal will probably win it, but I don't think they keep a clean sheet. So I think it's a 2-1 Arsenal.
I hope you're right. My call would be 1-0.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, even this one is tricky. Everton Spurs.
Which Spurs?
It's Spurs be Spursy.
Spurs v Spursy. But Everton defensively are pretty. They're not letting a lot of goals through. So I'd say like 1-0 Spurs.
I'm going to go 0-0.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
United Brighton. What do you think?
Bruno Fernandes hat trick.
No.
What do you reckon, United Brighton?
I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2. Yeah.
Or 1-1. 1-1 or 2-2.
I was going to say 1-1 or 2-1 United. Forest Southampton. I'm thinking 2-0 Forest.
Yeah, I think they could do well. I think 3-0, but I would say that Wood might get one. I think they've got some from other places.
Yeah, Wood normally doesn't go nuts. He might get like a goal and an assist tops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ipswich City. Okay. 4-1 City. Haaland with a brace and an assist.
Cool. I go 2-0 City.
Okay. Does Haaland get involved, please?
Up to you.
Chelsea versus Wolves. Oh, this is a hard one. Because of Chelsea's inconsistency, but they're at Stamford Bridge. I'd say 2-2.
Yeah, I go 3-2 Chelsea, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Difficult ones to call this week, I think.
Yeah. You know what? I think this week will make for some really interesting games. So I'm actually keen to see the results this week.
Look, I will settle for some really interesting games where I get 90 points. That will do me just perfectly.
Okay. Fair. All right, team. That's another week of two friends talking shit about FPL. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to you, Sam.
Thank you.
And, let's see how this week goes. Tomorrow's the cutoff, so that's a tight cutoff. Lots of EPL. Love it.
Don't miss that.
Awesome. See you, team.
See ya. Bye.